So congratulations, you found today's Easter egg. In my live video today, I talked about how long it actually takes to really turn a social media campaign around. It takes approximately 90 days in order to do that. To give you some examples, I pulled the stats for the last 28 days for 4 very similar businesses that we work with. The last example, however, has not been following the organic posting strategy that we provided them. So you can see the difference between the top tier and the bottom 2 tier. Now I'm only going over the last 30 days, and the reason I'm doing this is to just kind of show you a little bit of growth and some very good examples. So this last one down here, like I mentioned, these guys, they are not following the posting strategy that we prescribed them. So you can see that's really hurting them. These guys have been with us for only 30 days. Their reach has gone down a little bit, but their engagement has gone up. So at the end of the day, the reach matters absolutely, but so does the engagement. Now, as we're following the strategy a little bit more closely and using it a little bit more insightfully as we're getting to know this audience and surveying them to find out what works for them, that's what's helped boost the engagement on the post. Now, what's interesting about this is anytime you have someone who interacts with one of your page's posts, you can then invite them to like your page, whether they are on your friends list or not. So that's something else to be aware of with your social media campaign. Very, very important tool as well to help grow your following using these organic methods. These guys up here have actually been with us for 60 days. So in the last 30 days, they've gone up by 22% with people reached, but their engagements have gone through the roof. So again, these post engagements help with the reach because clearly what we're doing here is crafting some very, very engaging content that people are responding to 100% organically. Now here up at the top, this is over 90 days. And you can see here, the people reached has gone up by 142% and over 503% for post engagements. So again, being able to craft this content that is reaching a bunch of people, but also making it engaging so that that fan base is responding to it. Now up here at the top, I'm just validating the fact that this is a 0 ad spend campaign for all 4 of these services because they're all 4 in the same subsection of my business manager, which is what I use whenever I'm managing pages for people. So I put different businesses within different subsections, and then that way I can monitor them and say, okay, these guys are doing good using this strategy, so I can implement a similar strategy for these other guys, but still keeping the content original, insightful, and engaging. So there it is by the numbers. Now the next thing I talked about in my live video was actually the spy tool I have for Facebook ads. And this is how I do it. So with this one, I went a little broad just for this example because I want to show you how powerful this tool is. So I didn't specify a specific industry, but I can. So here's how awesome this is. I'm searching by date range, so I'm looking for things less than 32 days old with a lot of engagement. So I can really drill down and see what's hitting. So let's look at a few examples. Let's look at Food Network, for example. Huge company, right? So they did an ad for this Asian noodle salad. And when they did this ad, it had 164,000 likes, 11,000 loves, 3,400 oh my gods, 1,200 comments, and look at all those shares. So the next thing we want to do when we're looking at stats like these, which are quite impressive, is dissect and say, okay, how did they do this ad? And how much money do you need to spend and who do you need to target? So here's the very cool thing about this. They went here, ad placement. If you notice here, this is important too, especially when you're taking out ads. Look at where those ads are placed. So what they did was news feed ads only. They did not do right sidebar. They did not do, audience network, stuff like that. They only did this ad for people's news feeds, okay? Their fan page, Food Network, obviously, ad rank, and how long they ran it. Now, this is something else that I go over when I'm talking about looking at, demographics and who's on your page. Okay, now this is where I'm going to really break it down, and it's going to get super interesting for you guys. So they ran this ad for 30 days. And as you can see, the longer the ad ran, the more the engagement went up. And a big part of that is going to be directly related to shares. But again, optimizing ads for runtime is phenomenal. And I also mentioned here that on days 7 through 9 is when you're going to see day 7 through 10, is when you're going to see the biggest jump with your ad engagement. So as you can see here on day 7, you're here, but you've got a pretty massive jump on day 10. So it's very vital. But if you see here, it starts out kind of slow. And that's really what you're going to see. I'll even give you another example of this. But this is what you're going to see as you're building any ad. It's going to start out kind of slow, and then it's going to gain some momentum. With that said, who did they target? They targeted women, and they targeted women who were 55 and older. Now, for an ad that does this, obviously, major deal. How much did they spend? $350,000 on this ad. So, they spent some money on this ad to get these types of numbers. But it gives you at least a baseline, because the way I do it is I break it down into percentages. So I say, okay, if you want to get 2,000 comments, for example, we know that, the percentage of the ad spend for you to get that engagement is going to be X. So you just break it down based on percentages for anything with that. So let's look at another one. Next Deal Shop. Check out their stats. Their stats are pretty gosh darn good, right? 6,200 comments, 58,000 shares. That's a lot, right? So here, again, what did they do? Newsfeed ads, linked to their fan page, ran it for 30 days. Targeted the US, targeted females, and targeted females 55 and above, and then $143,000 ad spend. Now here's where it gets even more interesting. You can also drill down with this tool, and I often do, to see the ad history for that particular page. So I can go in now and dissect any other ad that I want to dissect and, use those same stats. So if I have somebody who's got less of a budget, for example, I'm going to go in here and I'm going to check out this ad. Okay, this is a big jump from, that $144,000 to the $3,000, right? So, what was their advertiser URL? Where did they put it? What was their fan page, and how long did they run it? Now, conversely and differently than some of the other ads this same advertiser partook in, they only targeted people in Alabama, male, between 35 and 54. So it's important to know, like I said in my live video, who your audience is and what they're going for, right? Okay, so let's look at one more before I move on to the last thing. So as I'm scrolling through these ads, another one that was kind of interesting and a little different was Face Cradle. So let's take a quick look at them. So we can see here all of the things that they did, how much money they spent, and who they targeted. They targeted a lot of different places, as you can see here. They targeted by male, and they didn't target by age. So, they still got some really good results, but they also spent $69,000. So, again, this does make a difference when you're working on these types of numbers. Now, that said, let's look at kind of where they started. If you go here, you're going to say, okay, they spent $1,500 targeting all of these different areas in the U.S., targeting males and targeting between 35 and 54 years old. They ran this ad for 15 days, and this shows you that growth again. And I have to reiterate yet again, it starts slow within the first couple days, and that is completely normal. There's nothing wrong with that. But as you can see here, like I mentioned before, and I'm all about showing you guys numbers, here's day 7, here's day 10. So again, when I say 7 to 10 days minimum for your ad run, there's a reason that I say that, and I can prove that to you by the numbers. Now, this is just, they targeted based on interest. This will also tell you if they targeted using a lookalike audience from their email list or something like that as well. So this is a really great way that our company breaks down exactly how to structure your ad for maximum success. Now, the last thing I talk about in my live video today is, okay, how are people ranking and how are businesses doing what they're doing? And honestly, there's so many different pieces of the marketing puzzle that it's very, very challenging. But hey, here's the interesting thing. you can really take a look at this particular business, which we're going to dissect Face Cradle here, and see exactly the steps that they took to help grow their brand and grow awareness, which led them into being able to spend those massive amounts of ad dollars that made them some massive amounts of money. So I'm going to dissect this with you really quickly. They did YouTube videos, and I always get on you guys to do videos, so please do them. They put their product on Amazon. That's a big deal too. They have a couple different options here. And then that you can see where they started in August 2016, putting their product on Kickstarter. So that's another thing that you can do with a business if you have your own innovative idea. Now that said, let's dissect the Face Cradle page so I can show you exactly what works and what doesn't. So when you click on the Face Cradle page, you see that it's very clean design. And this is something that I cannot stress enough to anybody who's working on any type of site out there. Clean design always outperforms anything that has a bunch of colors and busyness and anything. People want clean, simple, easy to use. Why? Most of your traffic is going to be mobile. So clean, simple, easy to use, and easy to navigate is vital. So you don't want a bunch of things up here in your menu bar. You really don't. You want to keep it as simple as possible. Just, keep it to the main things. What your product is, about your product or your company, why it's a benefit to the consumer, questions that people would have to ask, of course your blog, and then about your company and contact. Anything above and beyond that is oftentimes overkill in the main menu, and quite frankly, excuse my language, looks like shit on mobile. So let's dissect this a little bit further. Image heavy. Image heavy is big. And then of course you've got the one, they're really only selling one product, right? So they don't need to do anything else with that. But they have it very simple. It's a call to action on the page. What color do you want? How much? Add to cart. It's really that simple. So when you're talking about building a page for conversion, again, you're kind of reiterating your menu, right? So what you want to do is say, okay, here's my product. Here's how it benefits you. Here's some other people who love our product and, who've purchased our product. Here's some examples. Here's how you can connect with us on Instagram, Facebook, things of that nature. And then again, bottom menu, always, 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 guys, do these types of things to where you're keeping it as simple as possible. Do not put overwhelming amounts of content in front of your customer if you want to have conversions. So, you look at, they have their social media presence. And if you're building a business like this or a site like this, go look and see how your competition did it, how they did it successfully, and then emulate that, but of course, putting your own spin on it. Now, here I'm going to show you a free version of a tool that I have paid access to, okay? So with these guys, I can go ahead and dissect literally any business and how they're structured online. So this is going to tell me what the company is, who their competitors are, where they rank globally with websites. And this is important because there's 1.3 billion websites out there. So paying attention to your global rank is important. Where they rank within their country, they rank very well, and they don't have a category rank at this point. But you can also look at their traffic, okay? So you can see here where their traffic peaked, and this makes sense because this is shortly after they launched on Kickstarter, right? Went down a little bit, down a little bit. Then when they officially launched and started spending ads in the last 30 days, like I showed you before, look at how much their traffic went up. 60,000 units of traffic in a month, right? This will also tell you what's working on their site and what isn't. So you can say total visits, the average visit duration, how many pages consumers were looking at per visit, what their bounce rate is, which means how many people clicked on their site and then said, not for me, and clicked away. 40% is good. If you're at 80%, 90%, you're doing something very, very wrong. So that's where you're going to drill down and say, okay, where can I begin to do this right? It's also going to break down for you traffic by countries. You can even go a little bit further into this and break it down, by state. So, you can click here. You can say, okay, where did these come from? Okay. It's also going to tell you traffic sources. Now check this out. So you've got direct referrals. This is them being published on other sites. How many people found them in Google based on searches? Most people aren't going to search Face Cradle because it's a new product. They don't even know they need it. So with products like these, social is king. Look at this, 47.59%. So this is a fairly new company, and they're leveraging social. And as I showed you before, they're leveraging social ad spend. So it's going to tell you who their top referring sites are. This is also very important. So they got some press on Washington Post. That's vital. They got some press on Huffington Post. That's vital. Okay? So, you've got a bunch of different things on here that make a difference as to where your traffic is coming from. They survey their audience. That sends them back to the website. They get a lot of their traffic from social. It's going to show you that. They're getting some traffic from Instagram as well. So how would you want to structure your business? You'd want to structure it like this. After somebody who is being successful. It's going to tell you what the top keywords are for their industry. So what keywords are they using? This is important when it comes to your SEO. And it's also going to show you, okay, what social networks are they really leveraging to drive more traffic to their website? So guess what? You can also check out any subdomains, popular pages that are on their site, what their audience interests are. This is vital when it comes to targeting and things like that. What topics people are looking for when it comes to something similar to their site. And there is nobody who's really similar to them right now. But if you can also purchase SimilarWeb Pro and get a lot more with this. I have SimilarWeb Pro, but I want to show you what you can get with it. Now, as you're doing research to build your business, you can also download this and save it for later as you want to or can get to it and read it. So there's your Easter egg for today. I hope you guys found that helpful. If you want, feel free to share this Easter egg with friends and family or somebody that you know, and I will talk to you later.